important, because in the Hadith you'll not find the word sad, you'll find the word radam. Good. After he built it, he said, now blow with your bellows. Build a fire, blow with your bellows. And now he poured kittle, molten copper, on the barrier. And Masabo, who is the engineer here, will tell you it prevents rust. After the barrier was built, Gog and Magog could neither penetrate nor could they scale the barrier. Then Zulkarnain said, هَذَا رَحْمَةُ مِنْ رَبِّي. This barrier is constructed successfully with Allah's help as mercy from Allah. هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء. Could Alexander, who worshipped the Greek gods and goddesses, could he say this? Huh? When will they wake up? He said, when that time comes of which my Lord has won, He is going to bring down this barrier. He is going to do it. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. And then the warning of my Lord will come to pass. Gog and Magog are going to be let loose in the world. And since they have PhDs in facade, now we understand. The demolition job going on around the world today can only have one explanation, only one. This is the explanation. When they are released into the world, what kind of world will it be? This is why you have the word Qarnayn. Two horns or two ages. If you take the two ages as the meaning, that was one age. And what a world it could have been. And now this is the second age. Because I have created creatures of mine, so powerful that none but I can destroy them. This is Hadith al-Qudsi, direct speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Sahih Muslim. And so power in the world now, power which cannot be challenged, no, will now be released, and this power will rest on foundations which have to be godless to be agents of fasad. Because godly people, righteous people don't act in that way. And so power will now be used in a manner which is opposite from that first stage. In that first stage, power rested on the foundations of faith, and power was used to punish the oppressor. Remember? And now power will be used, power which rests on foundations which are godless, power will be used to oppress. Are you beginning to understand the world in which we live today? That one is a power you can trust because it is on foundations of godliness. And anyone who has the truth in his heart must have the truth on his lips. So you can trust him. But now this one, there are three categories of lies. Did you know about it? There are lies, and then there are great lies, and then there is 9/11. This is the world in which we now live. And then that one was one in which power, which rested on the foundations of faith, was used to protect those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct and assist them. And this is one which targets those who have faith and who are righteous in conduct and demonizes them and terrorizes them and sends them to a place called Guantanamo. Do you see the difference between the two? And now, what about the journey to the east? That one, even if these were a primitive people, but they were living in a land below which there is a whole basin of oil. And that precisely, of course, is Caspian Sea. Eh? Caspian Sea is a huge basin of oil. With Zulkarnain, he left them undisturbed because the human person was more valuable than the oil. But the new world of Gog and Magog says no. Human beings are like cockroaches. You don't have to bother of them. And this new world is essentially racist. Racist to the core. And they're not like us. So they are dispensable. The oil is what we want. And we go after the oil without regard for human rights. Or there are people who are living a primitive way of life. So they only take from the earth enough for their daily sustenance. And they show reverence for rivers. And they would be horrified, absolutely horrified, to find the people taking all the sewage from a town and pumping it into a river. Are these human beings? Or are they some satanic force? This is how that primitive man would respond. And now these people come who are agents of facade and say, we will not allow you to live that way. And so they take them out of the setting in which they are living, the primitive way of life, and bring them into what I call the blue jeans Jamaat. And so we have two ages. We have that age and we have this age. And you can now understand the world in which you live, and you can now look back to see the world that you could have lived in. This is the Qur'an addressing mankind. If only we'll take a little time to go to the Qur'an. Have they been released? Or are they still behind the barrier? Nabi Muhammad alaihi salatu wasalam is asleep at the home of his wife Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha. And he sees something in his sleep, and the hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, I think about 6-8 times. Different versions. He sees something in his sleep which is terrible, 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 terrible. And he wakes up from his sleep, it's a vision, and his face is flushed red. What did he see? And he says to her, وَيْلٌ لِلْعَرَبِ مِنْ شَرٍ قَدْ اقْتَرَبَ. Woe unto the Arabs because of a great evil which has now been released. Now it's close upon them. And then he raised his hand like this, and he said, today a hole has been made in the radam. That's the word used, radam, that Zulkarnain built, because they had asked for a sad, and he built a radam. So Nabi Muhammad ﷺ uses the word rudder. Today a hole has been built, indicating that the release of Gog and Magog, which can only take place when Allah chooses. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّ جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ. The release has now commenced, so the barrier is going down. She then asked, أَنُهْلِكَ, will we be destroyed? And there are righteous people living amongst us? He said, Na'am. We meaning the Arabs, because he said, Waylul lil-Arab. Will we be destroyed when there are righteous people living amongst us? He said, Na'am. إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ. When khabath, nastiness, immorality, what today can be called moral garbage, when it prevails, at that time, the destruction of the Arabs will take place. We are now living on the very brink of the destruction of the Arabs. On the very brink of it. It's a terrible time coming ahead of us. And so from the Ahadīth in Sahih Bukhari, it is as plain as daylight. And from our examination of the world around us, it is as plain as daylight that Allah brought down that barrier long years ago. That Gog and Magog, who are human beings. So you can't recognize them by looking at them. You have to recognize them by their conduct, or you could use the word footprints, no? By their conduct. That's how you recognize them. They've been released long ago. But if you say they have not been released, then I have the right to ask, where is the barrier? You don't even need to travel to the Caucasus Mountains. There's something called the internet now. You may have heard of it. And something called Google Earth. And you could just, Imam, you could just type, and the Caucasus Mountains right there on the screen. And you could move around, you get the Dajjāl Gorge. And when you look, it's a big military highway now from Russia coming down south. Barrier is not there anymore. If you say that you cannot have your cake and eat it at the same time, if you say that Gog and Magog have not been released, the barrier is still there, which is the majority opinion, unfortunately. And I show no disrespect for my brothers, the learned scholars of Islam. That's not my style. I made a mistake once in Perth. I said, they're eating halwa. And then Perth scolded me, and I've not done it again. If you say that the barrier is still there, that they have not been released, and I explain to you why they say that, then we have the right to respectfully ask them, where is the barrier? And why are you not making an effort to go and search for such a historic construction which is in the Qur'an? If it is still standing there, how can you eat biryani for dinner and go to sleep? Huh? Why are we in this situation? I have been lecturing on the subject of Gog and Magog for more than 15 years now. When I started in New York, people looked at me and asked whether this man has come from Mars or Venus. You couldn't believe what it was like 15 years ago. Really. Because nobody was speaking on this subject. Nobody. And I am in the United States of America. And you got the whole world of Islam in New York, you know. Everybody there. Every single Muslim community of the world is present in New York. And here comes this curious fellow called Imran,